Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Dark Art Society podcast. I'm your host, Chet, and today I have a great interview with Josh G., who is the art historian, dark art supporter, creator of Creep Machine, which is a really cool website back in the day for kind of weird and dark art. Uh, 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 and tech guru. He works in tech in Northern California, and he is offering to give his views on email marketing today. Now, this doesn't sound like a very glamorous topic, but I think it's really important. It's something I want to do more of. And as artists, we can't afford to blow off the things we're not interested in. It's, to make a successful art career, you have to kind of hit every potential marketing tool. You have to take advantage of every marketing tool, take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way, really, as long as it's a good opportunity. Anyway, I think it's a really important topic, and so I had Josh on to talk about it, and we talked a lot about it, and he had a lot of great ideas. So everyone should listen to this, especially if you're an artist. We also talked about AI some, which is really interesting, and so yeah, it's a great episode, great interview. Hope you enjoy it. What I have been working on is, let's see, I've been doing some tool posters. I'm still doing, my usual kind of playing catch up and trying to get things done that I owe people, commissions and stuff like that. Right now, I'm working on these tool posters that I've had for a long time for a really great collector. And after that, I have another set I have to finish, and then on to commissions. And I got so much stuff going on. I finished this little guy. Well, almost finished. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see this guy's going to get molded on Thursday. And we're going to start doing casts of this. I got to come up with a name for him. Anyway, let's see. What else? I'm totally blanking. Yeah, I'm working on an 11 by 14 frame option. I'm going to probably sell on the website, so that's going well. Lots of things happening. I'm also I need to amass as much money as I can this week. So I'm going to be offering I'm going to be throwing stuff up on my website this week. So if you're interested in getting anything, it's a good week because I'll have sale prices and be offering a bunch of things that I haven't put up before, like some weird studio studies I've been hanging on to and stuff like that. You can go to chetzar.bigcartel for that. chetzar.bigcartel.com for that. And let's see. I guess that's it. Anyway, okay. Yeah, that's pretty much everything that's going on. If you want to support this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/darkartsociety. We really appreciate it if you can do that. This is a listener-supported show, and we really seem to have plateaued a bit on our memberships. I know because the economy is really bad, but anything you can do to kind of spread the word about this podcast, I still think it's a great resource for artists. And I know a lot of people listen for free, which is fine, but if you could manage to pay $1 a month, it really helps. When a lot of people do it, it all adds up. Allows me to keep making this podcast, and I've got some really great guests lined up coming up soon too. It's going to be next month is going to be killer for guests. So yeah, go to patreon.com/darkartsociety and you could join for as little as $1. If you join at the $5 level, you get a 20% discount code for Skull Shop. Here's a Skull Shop skull you've seen many times if you watch the podcast on YouTube. Amazing skulls. SKULLSHOPPE.com. Also, if you want to support me, you can go to patreon.com/ChetZar. And I show everything I'm working on, post pictures all the time, post time lapses and all that. So that really helps as well. And I think that's it. Oh, if you join the Dark Art Society podcast Patreon too, you can get your name read on the air every week. And this week we have one new subscriber, and that person is named Terry LaFay. Thank you, Terry LaFay. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. I guess that's it. Let's get on with it. Like I said, this is a really great and informative interview, and something that all artists, especially dark artists, need to hear and start thinking about, because email marketing is really underrated. And I know I'm going to be doing it. After talking to Josh. I'm kind of excited about it. Anyway, so here we go. Hope you enjoy it. Hello, Josh, friend of the show.
Hey, how's it
Josh
going?
G. Good. So great to have you back. I want to mention also that you're, at least according to SoundCloud, where we initially host the podcast, your episode about Instagram marketing for artists is the most listened to podcast in all of the Dark Art Society podcast episodes.
That's wild.
That's
That's
crazy.
wild. I mean, is it still? Because a lot of it, I don't know if folks are still looking
It's
for it because
still,
Instagram has changed so much.
it's still the top one.
Wow.
It's crazy. I think the second one is the one that Mike and I did called films that influenced, which is totally weird because it's just us talking about weird movies that we like.
I can see that though. Like, I always dig talking about movies and then hearing it from someone else's perspective,
Yeah,
especially someone that's worked in the industry.
yeah,
I mean, I
that's
find
true.
myself on YouTube a lot watching like someone's take on Shining or
Oh
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
me
So
too.
I can see that generating a lot of interest.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the Instagram for artists is the king of the podcasts at the Dark Art Society. So
Well, we'll
congrats.
see if this one, how well this one does. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's generally as exciting as Instagram.
So just for people to refresh their memories, can you just talk a little bit about your background before we start talking about this stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if I said this last time. So I went to college for art history.
Right.
For years, I was working just a bunch of odd jobs. I had no direction. And then I found that one teacher that really got me excited about art and art history. And so I went to college for that. And my goal was really to focus on the whole dark art scene.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I grew up watching horror movies and listening to heavy metal and stuff like that. And I knew that there was something there that was just beyond like, oh, cool, look at that little knucklehead kid wearing that metal shirt.
Right.
And so I focused on that. But then after college, the economy's changed. I think it's really hard being a teacher in any capacity now.
Oh yeah.
And so, and one of my mentors at school, she's brilliant, PhD, focus on religious iconography, and she's having a challenge out there. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, she's brilliant. I'm trying to be brilliant, and she's struggling. So I need to think of something else. So I started learning a bunch about technology, just wherever I could, marketing tools, social media, Photoshop, everything.
Oh,
And
so
then that
this
led
your tech stuff was later in life then? It was
Mhm.
you weren't like the nerdy computer kid. Oh, interesting.
No,
Okay.
I didn't get it. I didn't get a computer. I think my first computer was probably I was around 22.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Late
Uh, it
bloomer.
was it, it was pretty late, yeah. But I took to it immediately just because I think being able to do a lot of things by yourself,
All right.
So when I got into electronic music, I was like, cool, no more waiting for flaky drummers,
Yeah.
no more flaky bass players or flaky singers. I could do whatever I wanted and kind of work on that. And so I've kind of just continued that.
Mm-hmm.
And then that brought me to the Bay Area where I've just been working for a bunch of tech companies. doing marketing and social media stuff and just learning whatever I can. So that's probably been about the past 10 years of my life. And then also on the side is, kind of helping artists with stuff and sharing what I've learned. And, I still really try to help out with art because, selfishly, I want to see more awesome art. I want to see that scene grow. And, I love looking at historical art, but the fact that new stuff is still coming and you're still being surprised and you're still seeing, even though I've seen a lot of art from the past and kind of studied it pretty heavily, there's still stuff that comes out that I'm just blown away by.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, where did this come from?
Yeah, that's what it's all about, finding those pieces, those amazing pieces that shock you and surprise you. And for people who don't know, Josh is an integral member of the Dark Art Society, very helpful, underutilized. I always tell people Josh will always help and answer any questions you have about marketing, social media, and I know people don't do it like they should, but I'm telling you, if you want help with something tech, you hit him up. But anyway, we're gonna cover some of that on the show today here. So, you brought up I think randomly you just asked me if I do email marketing. And I was like, no, but I have an email list, but I haven't really done anything with it for I don't think I've even used it in the last 5 or 6 years, maybe longer, just because the model has changed for me. With Patreon as kind of like my home base with the hardcore people, and I let them know about everything first. And then social media is the other version of an email list, but it's so dumb to not be using that, I feel. And it's I think it's really under or overlooked and underappreciated, the email marketing, because think about all the email crap we get, and it's like if it wasn't working, people wouldn't be doing it. So
that's definitely a big part of it. Like when I first got into it, I kind of had the attitude like, oh, email, I don't know. It feels like one of those things that you just kind of do,
right.
But once I got into it, I really kind of realized how helpful it was and profitable, not even profitable just from a money standpoint, but just as far as like followers and building a base.
Mm-hmm.
I think you probably heard me say this quite a few times. When you build a following on Instagram or TikTok or any of these other platforms, you have fans. You can't necessarily bring them somewhere.
Oh yeah.
I know. So like if Instagram falls apart or TikTok is banned, like they're kind of talking about doing right now, and
right.
our politicians, you lose that base.
Yep.
Now, hopefully your, I know this word's not popular in the art world, but your personal brand is strong enough that someone's going to search you out anyway.
Right.
But a lot of folks might not. And that never sat well with me, where you have followers, but it's really Instagram that has followers.
Yeah.
It's really TikTok. But when you have an email list, that you have those rules and guidelines you have to follow, but those folks interacted with you in a way that's almost more powerful than following someone on Instagram. You know, like if I find an artist, I hit follow, cool, let's see what they do. But if I sign up for an email form, I'm kind of entering a relationship where I know something's going to come, like a newsletter or something. So it's kind of like, to me, they're higher quality, the following that you get there.
Right.
They do need to be nurtured a little bit more because you can bug them depending on your following.
Right.
But the benefits, I think, are just, it's one of those things where, and I hate to sound too salesy, but you're getting $0 from it right now.
Yeah.
Right. So if you start doing it, it's nothing but profit. But I think it's just beneficial in the fact that, you get to feel secure that no matter what happens with social media, because who knows where it's going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Look what happened to Twitter. Oh my God. It's a nightmare over there. It's so
every other day I'm hearing stuff and I'm just like, I heard the source code got leaked or something. And it's just like, wow. Um, and so that I think reminds me even more like having, because your following really is integral to your career,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
if I work at a bakery, as long as people like bread, they're going to keep coming in. And
Right.
as long as we make good bread, but for an artist, that's an integral part. And if you lose all them, like if TikTok shuts off or
Yep.
Instagram shuts off, even if you gain some of those back later because they search you out again,
Yeah.
there's still that time period where who
Yeah.
knows what's going on.
And who knows how long I mean, I have uh I've been stuck still at 121,000 followers on Instagram, but it was all organic and it was all over, I don't know, 12 years or something. I'm not sure how long I've been on there. So it's like, how long would it take to get that amount of people back if something
Yeah.
happened? It would take years and years. And you don't even have a guarantee that you are going to find them again. So, yeah, I think on Twitter, a lot of people on Twitter were they have businesses. A lot of artists, especially the NFT people, are screwed if Twitter goes down because they got nothing. They got
Yeah.
nothing except Twitter, and I think that really started freaking people out. And it's funny because I always go back to your initial advice way back when, where you said have a website as a home
Yep.
base, because that way you have a home base. No matter what happens, you have this website. And I was right around the time Elon Musk took over Twitter, and there started being all these broken links and things. I posted, I'm like, this should prove to you that you need a website. You need something in case this place goes down. And some people were kind of like, yeah, well, I don't know. But as it went on, it just kept getting worse. And now it's terrible. It's really terrible. I go on there as for fun. I go on and I just block anytime I see an advertiser. I just block them.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of like the right thing to do
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a way,
Yeah, I
because it's
haven't logged into Twitter for, geez, at least 5 or 6 months. So I kind of hear, from folks how bad it's doing.
yeah,
But
I'm getting all this right wing content. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's so
yeah,
fucked up. And but anyway, it's really bad. But yeah. So that's what I need to get back, focus on my my email list. And I guess one of the reasons I stopped using it as much, well, the main thing was social media, the prevalence of social media, and Patreon, which has worked really well, kind of as an email list for me. But I was noticing, I was looking up the analytics on my emails, and the vast majority of them were not even getting opened.
yeah.
But it was like I got this crappy system that looks like HTML. It looks really bad. I don't have like a cool um, email client or whatever you call them. I'm not. It's called eye contact, and
Oh, yeah, yeah, I've heard of them.
it's kind of an older one, and they did upgrade the themes and stuff to where it can look nice, but it was just a little too complicated, and so I never got into it. So I have these crappy it looks like my emails on my email list look like a web page from like 2002 or something.
I mean, a lot of that stuff is coming back.
Yeah, I
So
know, right?
it might start doing well now.
Yeah, I'm ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Well, the benefit with it is it's definitely a lot better now. There's more players kind of in the game, like a couple names, MailChimp is a
That's
popular
the one
one.
I hear about all the time,
Yeah.
MailChimp.
I would even push artists over to one called MailJet.
Hmm.
And the reason why I like MailJet is for the free tier, it gets you 6,000 email sends a month.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that's unlimited contacts. So
Oh, that's cool.
every email program works with profiles and sends. So you can have as many contacts as you want in there, and then you can send a total of 6,000. So like every single email that goes out counts. But if you have a list of say 500 people, how many times can you send them something? Now you might not want to, but it gives you that freedom that
Right.
hey, I've got a show coming up. This is really important. Let's hit 4,000 people on my list and make them and get them aware of this. And to your point, you will have emails that just folks don't open.
Right.
And that's for a variety of reasons, right? Like, I mean, I don't know about your inbox, but I get like 100 emails every day.
Yeah.
I'm not opening 100,
Yeah. It's a nightmare.
you know. But one of the things that's kind of cool about it is that a lot of times folks will scan their inbox, look at a subject line, and that's all the info they needed.
Okay.
So if you're, hey, Chet sends out an email, 20% off sale in my big cartel. I don't want to give you a big discount like that. Let's do 10%. 10% on my big cartel. They're just going to go directly there because they already know your website.
Right.
They're not going to click it.
So this is
Um,
a strategy then as well, like maybe put.
I think less of a strategy. It can be part of your strategy, but more of a perspective, right? Where in social media, like for Instagram, we're so used to folks liking or commenting.
Right.
And then that's where we know, okay, we have a winner. That's also kind of been a lie in a way where there are folks that love our stuff and love what we post on Instagram, never liked, never commented, never did anything,
Right.
but they still paid attention to it long enough. They looked at it long enough. They did something. And maybe they're the ones that go to your show and bought a painting and you've never met them before because
Right.
they've been kind of lurking on your profile. So that'll happen in email as well. But generally, I don't know what kind of percentage engagement you have on Instagram, but for a while there, mine was below like a percentage. I'm not
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian or nothing like that. I'm not getting millions of people looking at my stuff. But with email, it's generally more like a good open rate could be around 3 to 5%.
Oh, really?
So it is a little bit higher, but that's just if they open.
Right.
If they scan and see, cool, I know what's happening, or upcoming show at Copro Gallery. Oh, I know where that is. I'm going anyway.
Right.
So I think it's more of, instead of like Instagram or whatever, where we're trying to get the highest number possible, it's more of, with email, it's what's the best message I can send out there? What's
Right.
going to help them? Sales are great. Like if you're having a promotional sale, if you're having an upcoming show, if you're launching a new Kickstarter,
Right.
that's those things where I think someone will look at the email and then they'll, like me, I get a ton of emails about synthesizers. So I'm scanning, and then if I see one I like, I'm going to open it.
Right.
And that's how they get me looped in. And next thing you know, I'm checking the email out. And then you can learn more about your customers, that your fans. I hate to say customers, but your fans that way as well. You'll
Mhm.
see what they click on. You'll see what they interact with. Um,
Okay. Yeah, because I'm imagining a good Mailjet or Mailchimp. They have the analytics have like, you know, it tells you what they're doing, if they're opening, what they're
mhm.
clicking on, and all this stuff too, which is I think is probably really important, right?
Yeah. You'll see the open rate, which I would look at that with a grain of salt, because some email clients, when the email is downloaded, the account counts it as an open.
Oh,
So
okay, okay,
I don't really look at those myself, but like you'll see a click through rate. So when you go look at your email, you'll see the percentage of folks that are clicking. You'll also be able to see, and you can look and go in and look at an email address and see what they clicked.
hmm,
And then you can create new lists on those. So, this is what we can't do in Instagram, which is awesome in email, is you can go into MailChimp or MailJet or any of the other ones and say, hey, let's make a list of just people that clicked my email in the last 30 days.
oh, what a great idea.
And then it'll put a list together, and then you can send an email just to those
Oh, that's
folks.
so cool. Yeah, that's great. See, these are again, this is like, it's so funny. This is the same kind of like light bulb moment I had on the first episode we did, where it was like, these are such obvious kind of ideas, but you just never think of it like that. Like me, the dummy artist guy, I'm like, I see, oh, I only got like I don't know, 5% of my emails opened. That's a total failure. It's not working. It's all screwed up. And then you're telling me it's like, you have to think of it in terms of these low rates. You're not expecting 100% of the people to open it. It's just not the way it works, right? It's more like
Exactly.
you're hitting mass amounts of numbers, and you're expecting a low percentage of them, and those are your people that you're kind of targeting
Yeah, and
down.
you get to email, I think you get to tell better stories too,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where you're not limited by, seconds of a video on TikTok. You're not limited to,
Right.
someone getting, complaining that your Instagram picture has text in it, and they're like, I don't want to see this. Um, so with email, you get to kind of craft something a little better, where you're really kind of building that community that's really interested in what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You get to learn more about them. You can, I mean, if you, depending on how, in depth you wanted to get, you could have your followers or your fans have their birthdays a part of your email list.
Mm. Oh,
It's in
wow.
there. And then depending on what service you use, an automatic email goes out on their birthday, or you write it yourself.
Right.
Doesn't matter. And then, connect with them a little bit more on that way, or reach out and say, hey, I saw you at the show. You took some great pictures.
Right. Right.
I'm going to put those in an email. What do you think? And then
Yeah.
now you're putting an email out of your show, photos courtesy of this person. You're collaborating together. Hey, make sure to check out their website. It's more of, it kind of reminds me of like when you'd see older folks read the paper every in the morning,
Mm.
the Leave It to Beavers and stuff like that. Like I kind of look at email like that, where I get to get a little bit more in depth with the things I'm interested in,
Right.
rather than Instagram, where it's really like, okay, cool, great new painting, I love this. Well, what else?
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I have so many questions here. I was okay. One question that comes to mind is I have, what is it now? Probably 10, 12 years of emails of people that ordered through my big cartel shop. So I've got like, it's not a mailing list anyone opted into, but I wonder if there's any way. I know that that's like spamming if I just kind of take their emails without their permission and put them in a mailing list. But is there a way to use those to like make a mailing list and say, hey, would you like to be on my mailing list? Or is that like cross a line?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky now since there's that GDPR that happened in Europe, right? So that's the General Data Protection. I'm probably saying it wrong, but there's quite a few things. There's GDPR in Europe, there's CCPA here. Basically, you've probably seen on websites where you get that little window that pops up asking for your cookies that you
Right.
accept.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these data privacy rules are coming into play now, where I would say it's best to err on the side of caution, and just, you can probably go into your email client iContact right now and see who's still opted in. If they're still opted into your emails,
Mm-hmm.
then you can use those because they've
Oh, I
given
see.
you
Right.
consent,
Okay.
right? They've
Okay.
said, cool, I'm open for this relationship. If they've said I'm unsubscribed, I generally clean those folks out.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
benefit with them is that they might come back.
Right.
A friend of mine, his wife works at a company doing like sporting goods, and they'll lose a bunch of people throughout the main bulk of the year. They'll come back during the holiday and unsubscribe again, and then come back during the holiday and unsubscribe again. So you'll have those folks that kind of have that behavior where,
Oh, you mean they subscribe and then they
unsubscribe.
unsubscribe and then they subscribe again and then they
Yep.
unsubscribe. Yeah, I mean, I could see. I mean, you've had those days to where you're like, I'm so sick of seeing this email, and you unsubscribe from it when it's it might be someone you are interested in. So I could see that. I could see that
Yeah.
happening. Because I have those moments. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so they might be like wanting something for the next couple months because a spouse has a birthday coming up or something, and they want to get in on any sales, and then after that, they know they're not going to be buying anything for the rest of the year. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it could also be as simple as, well, I really wanted to learn about this artist, and, you'll have like I've worked with friends before where they'll just email during sales, which is helpful, but at the same time, you know, I can look on the website probably or see on Instagram. So I think it's best to look at it really like a different channel to share information that you either won't always share on Instagram and you can get more in depth here. Like treat those,
Right.
I guess that's a good way is like look at your email folks like VIP
Right. Which
and
is
then
how
kind of treat them that way.
right. Okay. This is how I treat my Patreon people at this right now. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So how do I square that? You know what I mean? Because it's almost like maybe there's general people on Instagram that are getting everything whatever they see for free. They're not necessarily invested in me. Then you've got the next tier maybe are the email people, and then the top tier are the Patreon people because they're the people willing to actually pay you. Most people are paying to support you, I think, rather than
Yeah.
what they get. That's my experience. So maybe there's three levels there in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, another way you can kind of look at it is, I mean, to have a, I mean, I don't know, like, I don't want to say super successful because it's different for every person, but I think you could really have a solid email program by uh, emailing folks when you have a new show, emailing folks when you have a sale, and you're on Squarespace, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So Squarespace, Shopify, others, they have automatic triggers that go out automatically for you based
Mm-hmm.
on behavior. So one of them is the abandoned cart email. That one
Oh,
is amazing because let's say someone goes to your website or your shop's on Big Cartel.
yeah,
Let's say someone goes to your website, put stuff in the cart, and then they leave. They're like, I'm gonna go eat, go do something else,
right.
whatever. They forget. About 2 hours later, they'll get an email that says, "Hey, this stuff's still in your cart." And what's amazing about those, they seem really minimal, but a lot of companies, that's where a bulk of their email revenue comes from, is
Wow,
that email itself.
wow.
And I never learned about them, but one of the tricks, and I'll have you try this too whenever you're bored, is next time you go to a website you like, put something in the cart,
Mm-hmm.
make sure you're signed in, and then leave.
Mm-hmm.
And chances are in about 24 to 48 hours, in that time, you'll get an email. Hey, Chet, you left this in your cart. What's up? If you wait longer, you'll get, hey, Chet, will 20% off do it?
Oh, wow, yeah,
And so
wow.
I'm constantly doing that where I want something. We're all pinching pennies. It's not enjoyable out there. Like bread's like what, $9 a loaf now or
Right.
something. Um, so a lot of times I'll put something in the cart and I'll see. I'm
So
not in
yeah,
an
as long
urge
as
to
you
get
yeah,
this.
as long as you're patient,
Yeah,
you might end up getting a pretty good deal out of it. That's so funny.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now it's a little bit different, I think, because always adding discounts to art, I think probably isn't always the best thing, right? It's a little bit different than buying a new stereo or buying a phone or something like that. But I think there are at least triggers that you can have that go on in the background. And so I would definitely look at it like a solid email program for an artist could really be just one email a week.
Hmm.
And that's about it.
Hmm.
So you can still have that nice content for your Patreon subscribers. They get the previews of stuff, they get the behind the scenes. And you can even grab like, hey, my Patreon subscribers really dug this behind the scenes shot of me painting like your latest painting, the big huge one.
Mm-hmm.
And then that goes into your email 3 weeks later.
Right.
Everyone's already seen it.
Yeah, that's
Let's pop it
true.
in here.
That's true.
And that kind of goes along with that idea where, the other benefit of being an artist is none of your content has an expiration date on it. It's paintings that hopefully will live longer than all of us.
Right.
So you can kind of keep bringing those up and then let's put them in here and I'm going to talk about this piece
That's
a little
true.
bit more.
That's true.
We have some prints,
Right.
and you get to craft a little bit more of a story for those folks.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I imagine that it would be worth the time as well to go in, and I've of course have never done this, even though I have thought about it a lot, would be to go in to your email list and find the people that you actually know, because a lot of people you know because they bought so much from your store, and kind of separate them out and like if they only have their first name, put their last name in there. If they have any other information, put that in the notes or whatever, and really treat it as like very important marketing research, I suppose, or just
Yeah.
as a way to like, I don't know. It seems like one of those things that no artist would ever want to do because it's just a pain in the ass. But it seems like it would be really potentially important to do. It's like time well spent. It seems like it would be.
Yeah, I don't think you have to spend too much time on it either. Like, you could make it like a Friday ritual where you go in there, you look at an email you sent. You can also, every email you send, depending on the platform, I don't know if iContact does this, but we'll have like a heat map where you can look at the email and see where someone clicked or see the links they clicked.
Okay, you're
It's
right.
like, let's say you had a solo show at Copro and you sent an email out and said, hey, everybody, I have a show at Copro. The email goes out a week later, you look at it and you can see how many people clicked and actually went to that link.
Right.
You could create a whole new list from those people that clicked and then send an email out and say, hey, I saw you were interested
Yeah,
in the
you're the
show.
you're the clickers.
Yeah, exactly. I saw, yeah, you're the clickers. Who wants to buy mushrooms? Uh, so all of you clicked on the show. You were super interested in it. Well, write a review and I'll send you out a free sticker based on the show
Oh
flyer
yeah.
or something wacky like that.
What a great idea.
So that's something it's really challenging to do with Instagram. I don't even know if you can,
Yeah.
right? You can't separate those people out and say, hey, like, your threadless shop, you send an email out and you put like 4 images, shoes, a shirt, a blanket, and some stickers. You can look who bought shoes and now create a list from those people, send them an email and say, hey, I know you guys all looked at shoes. I'd like your input. What do you think about this as a next pair of shoes? Would you buy this?
Right. Yeah.
And send them a picture of it. And now you're literally being able to ask those folks that showed interest if they would be interested in the next one.
Yeah, that's such a
And
great,
then they all
great
reply
idea.
and say, thumbs up, those are awesome. Now you send a new email later. Oh, they're available now. What do you think?
Right.
So you really get to kind of have like almost like an ongoing conversation based on what they're doing.
Yeah, which I mean, and that's I know that you are sensitive to how you word things. Like you said, you don't, I hate to say customer,
Yeah.
stuff like that, because as artists and art lovers, we're in it for more than the money. We're trying to make money at it because we want to support the thing we love to do. It's like if we wanted to make money, we'd be doing other things. There's easier ways to make money. It's for damn sure.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, we don't like to refer to things in those kind of terms, um, but that is, if you're going to survive as an artist, it's like that stuff is just so, it's crucial. If you want to keep making the work, you have to do this stuff. This is just the reality of it. And I just don't think it's a bad thing to, I guess my point was, you can, by doing what you're saying and sort of having these more intimate relationships, I suppose you could say, or more in-depth relationships with your fans, you are not only it's also, and I'm really bad at explaining myself. It's not only good for like sales, but it's also good for building a actual relationship with someone who loves what you're doing. So
Yeah.
they don't have to be these two mutually exclusive things. It's like you can kind of do both and not have it be like this horrible capitalist nightmare thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I agree. Like, I definitely and my wife catches me a lot. I've been in marketing so long where, we were having a conversation a week ago and she came up with she had an idea and where I should be just like, oh, cool, babe, that's a great idea. I think I responded like, I like where your head's at. We should probably chat about this later. And I went right into like marketing zone and I had to catch myself. But I do, oftentimes I will misconstrue the words but I think it is really important, right? Like, first and foremost, an artist has fans. And ideally that's what you have. And fans, that definition can fit so many things. It could be someone that just loves your work and may never be able to afford some of it, or
Mm-hmm.
they're saving and one day they can. Um, or they have a ton of it, or you know or they're like a horror t-shirt fan that collects horror t-shirts and that's their thing.
Right.
So I think the fan is like a really great word because it means so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think customer is something you are temporarily, and then you
Right.
jump back into that, right?
Yeah.
So like when
Yeah.
I go to like a music store, I'm a customer temporarily. I'm a fan of the machine I bought in the company.
Right.
And that's where I'm looking at, geeking out, watching
Mm-hmm.
people on YouTube mess around with it. But the customer is just like a little state. And I think it helps thinking about that just in how do customers think, And like one I think is a great example is I was chatting with another artist a while ago and they were kind of mentioning that they are kind of, I'm struggling a little bit, right? It's tough. Not everybody can buy art. If the economy is not doing well,
Yeah.
I'll eat ramen noodles for 6 months if I can buy a new painting, but not everyone's like that.
Right.
But I mentioned to this artist and I said, I looked at their body of work that they had available and I was like, you have a lot of paintings and expensive prints. Where's everyone else?
Right.
There's no stickers, there's no pins, there's no
Yep.
patches. And I know that stuff kind of sometimes maybe not doesn't feel like a thing to sell. Well, I don't want to sell little stuff. But what you've done is basically, if you don't do that, and it's everyone's choice, is closed off where some fans can enter into buying
Right.
stuff and
Yeah.
others they can't. I've been very lucky that I've been able to score some pretty crazy pieces in my time. But when I first got into the art world, it was a lot of me. Like I still have boxes filled with hundreds of show flyers
Mm-hmm.
because that was my way of collecting art. So I would put
Right.
it on the wall and here's a show flyer, and if I'll tell you, if those artists had a way for me to collect stickers or buttons or whatever, I would have had it all over the place,
Oh yeah.
And so at least kind of considering fans like a customer, if even just temporarily, gives us that ability to go, okay, am I offering everything for them? Am I
Right.
allowing them to kind of partake in this as well?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think the words are kind of interchangeable in a way, I guess.
Yeah. 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 I think I think it's such a good thing to do. I know that, I don't know, it seems like people think, some people think it cheapens you to sell merch and stuff like that, but I don't, I just totally disagree with that, because I feel like, for one thing, it's fun. It's fun putting your logo on something and on a button or something. It's
Yep.
like, I don't know, I find that fun. I like to collect stuff like that from people I like. Like I always think of the customer or the fan as myself. What do I like? And I
Yep.
just am, if I think it's cool, then I think it's, then I'll do it. But you're really, by selling cheaper items, you just, what you said, you're not, it's kind of like, it's not elitist, and it's not like, if you can't afford hundreds of dollars, then I don't care about you. It's like, I have a lot of fans that can only afford a $20 print. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I know. I've talked to them on Instagram and stuff, and so I feel like it's a really good thing to do that. It's a really good thing to offer that, and it can be a way to make money for you as well. I just sold like today. I just sold like I don't know, like $170 worth of $20 prints. Someone
Yeah.
just bought like, I don't know, 6 or something, or 7. I don't know what it was, but it's like, I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, and I've done that as well. Like when it comes to like music gear and stuff like that, like, I can spend this much on one thing, or I can spend the exact same amount on 7 things.
Right.
And if you have like an apartment and you want stuff on the walls, you want to create your space that you live in, I can have one painting, and maybe that's just good enough. That's what you want. It's like your dream piece or
Right.
whatever. Or to that point, get 10, 20 prints,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
you might have kind of like a reoccurring kind of fan or collector in a
I
way.
I know, yeah, I know a lot of collectors that have I know collectors that have cut pages out of my book and put them in frames, because it's like
Yeah, yeah,
whatever, whatever it takes. It's the it's the fact that they love it enough to do that is cool. And I like accommodating people. I don't like the idea that, I don't know, it just seems so snobby to be like, it's weird. On one hand, as an artist, you want your prices to be as high as possible. That's kind of like your overall overarching career goal, is like to have expensive work as an
yeah,
artist. Um, but I don't like the idea that you have to be rich. You can only collect art if you're rich. That's it, bottom line. And so, I when you offer all these different price points, then you're including everybody, and that is really, I think that's one of the cool things about the whole dark art scene as well, is like it's not a super elitist blue chip. It's more of a blue collar. It's more of a people's art. I feel,
I
it's for
agree, and
everyone. It's art for everyone, kind of.
yeah, I've been in a couple arguments with some of my professors. I got into some heated ones sometimes, and one of them was over that, which was the attitude like there's a specific path into being a respectable artist, where you have to be at the right museum, the right gallery, sell the right work. You can't do this. And then out of nowhere, and then in the 80s, Keith Haring in New York that did all the little cartoon men and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
had the pop shop, sold
Mm-hmm.
watches, chairs, couches, t-shirts. So even that, like Keith Haring, who's considered like, a modern art pop star,
Yeah.
did that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of times, I think there's some great stuff to learn from the past and to emulate, but I also think it just needs to change because the way that people look at and consume art changes too.
Yeah.
Like one of the things I've run out of wall space totally, so I've moved into t-shirts.
Oh wow.
So I've been buying horror t-shirts off of like, all these different sites. And I keep getting stuck. Oh, and a vinyl record collection too. I started that, which probably isn't the greatest idea just because
Vinyl
they're
records
so
are so cool, though. I mean, they're
they
so
and
great.
some of the new ones they're doing, like they get special artists to do the
I know.
covers. It's kind of like what Mondo's doing. And so
Yep.
it's one more place where I can have art a part of my environment,
Yeah. Yeah.
because if you're going to say like, well, the only way you can be a true art fan and buy stuff from a true artist is wall art, paintings and drawings and stuff, you're really limiting yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
where, I mean, I have art shoes with someone's paintings on it,
Mm-hmm.
t-shirts, I mean, I'm fully prepared to be like that 70-year-old man wearing the loudest outfit possible because it's got art I love on it.
Right.
And I think that I think that's just great for the artists and the fans too.
Yeah. Definitely. And I've never. I don't know. I guess the artwork I grew up on too is not blue chip art in a way. I guess. I mean, like I was the kid that would get a Frazetta shirt. And it's like, I think that's cool. I'm sorry, maybe I'm like trashy or whatever, but I think it's cool. I think it's
Yeah.
awesome. Um, I don't know. It just comes down to what you like, I suppose. But yeah, like do you know Eric Pickers? Toxic
Yeah.
Tunes. His shirt. I have, like, I can't buy my Lisa won't let me buy any more shirts for him because it's like every time he puts a shirt out, I have to buy it because I just love them because of the artwork. They're so cool. And so I really have to, I have way too many shirts than I need because I buy them for the artwork and I just think they're so cool, you know?
Well, it's the art too, but one of the things I was hooked into t-shirts quite a while ago, and I found that like it creates this community or connects a community that's out there
Mm-hmm.
already. Like I've been in public before,
True.
or I'll go to the store and I'll have like, my Return Living Dead shirt on or something like that.
Oh
And someone
yeah.
like zombie movies is just like, oh, no way. Then you start chatting about zombie movies.
Yeah. True.
I was in a store a week ago with my God Machine hoodie, and someone stopped me in the aisle. Oh, where'd you get that? and now I'm telling him about an artist he's never heard of
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
So it's also kind of a way to like connect with like-minded folks,
True.
you know. So I think a shirt just outside of looking cool is also just advertisement for the stuff we love.
Right, true, true. Yeah, and signaling to other people, I don't know, what you're into, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so so cool. So I'm thinking, because you were going to help me, you said you offered to help me with my email marketing, which I really appreciate. That's the kind of guy Josh is. Um, so I was thinking I kind of feel like I should move to one of these ones you're recommending, you know, because I've been paying for this eye contact forever, and it's like I have not been using it very often. So, um, I don't know. I feel like that one it's the same with my old website host that I got in 2002 that I used forever. It's like it wasn't like the new ones like Squarespace. They kept trying to play catch up,
Yeah.
and every time they implemented a thing, it was like not quite as good as what the newer companies were doing. So I'm thinking I'm gonna switch to, like, I guess MailJet, if you think that's the one. I don't know. I don't know between Mailchimp and MailJet.
Yeah, I mean,
I
they're
mean,
both pretty good.
I'm happy to. I can write it off on my taxes. It's like this is how I make
Yeah.
my living, so I'm not so worried about being super cheap. I'd really rather have like what's the best program to use or service to use. Um,
I think either one, like MailJet or MailChimp would work. MailChimp does have a bunch of other stuff involved in the platform itself, so it can get a little daunting. Like
okay,
I'll even jump in there and I'll be like, oh, okay, this is a lot of stuff.
yeah,
And
that's the
you know,
other.
you can learn it. You know, I've learned it, but I'm personally a big fan of really minimal, elegant ways to fix things. You know, like
Right.
Squarespace, it's right to the point.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have a lot of extra stuff in there that doesn't, you know, it's like Photoshop. You know, you can use Photoshop or you can use Procreate, and you get to the same end, but Procreate's a little more elegant sometimes
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
just want to
Simpler.
work on something. And so I kind of look at it like that. So you could probably do pretty well with MailJet if you jump up like because you will get that free account. I'm starting
Hmm.
to sound like I work for them. I'm also anyway, we'll get you hooked up. Um, so you do get the free 6,000 emails per month, unlimited. The next tier up would be for double that, 15,000 emails per month, and that's $15 a month.
Okay. Yeah, that's
And so
cheap.
ideally, yeah, it's cheap, especially if you know, send out an email and you sell 3 shirts, you just
Right.
paid for your month,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, or someone went to your show and was like, oh crap, you know, I totally got there on time to get this piece or something like that. Or, you know, you had a collector preview or something like that. So
Right.
I think it definitely does pay for itself.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and you can always, the other benefit too is that, you know, you can always go down a tier.
Right.
So if you
Right.
find that like this was too high, you can move down and they're like, yeah, we're totally cool about it, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. That brings up a good point. I don't want anything overly complicated either, because I tried. It's so funny. I'm still on my big cartel shop because it's so damn easy. And I what happened was I got a Squarespace website, and I was thinking, oh, they have a better shopping cart, so I'm going to use that. And it is better than Big Cartel. It has more options. It's easier to use, but it still doesn't have what I need. And I forget what it was that I needed. I needed something with shipping, something with how to set up shipping. So I'm like, okay, so Squarespace is great for the website, but the shopping cart still doesn't have the thing I need. So I got a Shopify account, and I was like, oh my god, this is like so complicated that I ended up paying for it for like, I don't even want to say how long, and not using it. And finally, and I still have it. I took it to like, because I know I'm gonna get there at some point, but I took it to where it's you set it to be like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like
Oh, it's like you put it on like a hiatus or
yeah,
something.
yeah. It's on this hiatus period, so it's like, I don't know, $7 a month or something, because it's like I've got I started setting it up, but man, it was just like it was like you had to watch a bunch of videos, and oh my god, I
The
don't.
benefit with Shopify is there's a few artists I know on that, and I would encourage Shopify for those artists where going to events and selling your stuff is a big part of your life.
Hmm.
And the reason for that is you can have Shopify set up so that like you could be at like, let's say Fright Fest or something like that. You're selling and you sell a painting, and that painting is in your Shopify site, and you check out on like an iPad or your phone and they buy it, it'll remove it from
Oh,
the website immediately.
that's cool.
So you have that connection of inventory so that,
That's cool.
because I've been in that situation before. I reach out to an artist, I bought a piece and they mail me a day later and they're like, dude, I already sold it before you did. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. And I'm like, oh, sweet.
Yeah,
So Shopify takes care of that part for
well,
you.
the thing is, I am trying to do less of that sort of thing. So that's not really something I'm looking for, but I do like, I mean, I'm basing it on other websites I see, like Trakel. They have a Shopify cart, and it's like they have the little map to show you where your tracking is. I love that. I think that's so cool. So you can kind of see where it is once you check out. You know what I'm saying? It has
Yeah.
like shows a map of where it kind of.
So that feature right there, so that's like after ship station, all these services that kind of show where things are.
Yeah.
And the other services you have might have that feature, or a lot of those services like Squarespace, Big Cartel, others, I don't want to speak for them, but sometimes they have third-party apps you can connect to, and
Oh,
then you'll get
okay.
that functionality.
Oh, okay.
So I would take a look and see if you can like, boost up what you have
Right.
before you move on.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So you might find, yeah, there might, it's been a while, I'll be honest. Like, I haven't signed into Big Cartel for quite a while. But they might even have, because, all these services are kind of looking at each other constantly
right.
because, one does something better and then the other one has to go, oh, okay, well, we have to offer this now
Mm-hmm.
too. So you might find that Big Cartel has, yeah, so the night shipment tracking, I'm seeing Big Cartel inventory tracking. So it
Hmm.
might have a lot of the stuff I
Okay.
even said Shopify has.
I'll look into it. I was thinking the other thing I could do is potentially if I really wanted a Shopify cart also would be to maybe hire someone on Fiverr because I no
No. No, no.
because I
I
have
mean,
I have a
I don't
friend who
want to like,
uses
I don't want to like crap on the folks on Fiverr, but yeah, I think
I,
website stuff, especially, it's kind of always that you get what you pay for kind of thing,
okay.
and there's
I've
definitely
never
kind of all,
used it, but I have a friend who's like anytime he needs a model that needs to be like to be rigged or something. He'll just pay someone on Fiverr to do it, a 3D
yeah,
model
and
or
there's
something.
definitely some like cases where I would tell people go to Fiverr. But the benefit with a website, I think there's always a good thing with creating a relationship with someone that kind of always knows what you're going for.
Right,
Because
right.
I think the most challenging thing is when someone has no skin in the game other than you paying them,
Yeah.
then they're kind of like, okay, cool, I did this, it's set up. And the tricky part about like e-commerce and sites like Shopify is that there's like multiple ways to set something up, and
Oh,
one will last you for a long time and the other will cause you more stuff you have to fix.
right.
So if they don't do it right, then you're like, okay, cool, well, I changed this and now this is messed up. So there's folks out there, and I can chat with you later about that kind of stuff.
Okay.
You know, um,
Because I do know there is one. I can't remember it right now because it's been so long, but there is one feature that I couldn't, and it was like I said, it was something to do with how I wanted to set my shipping up that Squarespace or Big Cartel would not do. The other thing that's about Big Cartel that is a problem for me is that it's like it's so simple, but I basically have the whole store filled up. And it's like if you want to move your items around, there's one at the bottom. You have to drag it all the way up to over 500 items, and it's just like it's not efficient. It's really a pain in the ass when you want to like move things around or
Yeah, I think the best big cartel sites I've seen are the ones where like you go in there and they have 20, 30 products.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna have like a big setup, then
Yeah.
there's
I have
probably
too much stuff in there. I need to get rid of stuff, but yeah, yeah. Well, we'll talk about it, I guess.
yeah. I mean, I think you have a ton. That's kind of the cool thing right now is what I think always makes me hopeful about art, the stuff that's out there for artists right now is you have like so many options. And
Right.
I think that's kind of what really goes into, me constantly nagging artists to like, don't put all your eggs in one basket is because you have multiple baskets at your disposal.
Right.
There's so many right now, and all of them want your attention. All
Right.
of them, can offer something unique, so I think, there's definitely something out there for you. And a lot of times they just don't advertise as well. Like GoDaddy. GoDaddy is not the only, website host, but they're definitely the loudest. They're the
Mm-hmm.
ones that's constantly just
Right.
hitting people up with ads and commercials. And so they get a ton of customers just on the fact that like they're super
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah, they're a name brand that people know.
Yeah.
Um yeah. So what was I going to ask you? I was going to ask you something else too. Uh oh, I suppose, one thing that really starting when we start talking about this stuff, I'm just like, oh man, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? It's like time and research and all this stuff. So I'm going to bring up the elephant in the room, I guess, which is I bet AI could probably help an individual artist do things like write up a weekly email for your email list and things like that. Correct?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've been it's kind of a tricky, and you and I have chatted about this kind of on Facebook and stuff, and I know that AI is that conversation now that gets folks on the left, or they're either they love it, they're excited, or they hate it immediately. But I kind of look at AI really like a tool or an assistant. It's not perfect. It's not, you know, I don't know how many. It's going to take some jobs, but I think that sentence is also really simple too. Like
Yeah,
whose,
right.
and because I'll tell you what, like I don't think it's going to take any artist jobs because a lot of the arguments I hear is how skillful it is. Artists are more than skill. Artists are relevance. They're talking about the world around us,
Mm-hmm.
the feelings that affect us, our fears, our hopes, and that's dark art too, right?
Right.
Uh, an AI art tool is not going to do that.
Right.
They're only going to recreate what they've been trained on, and they're not looking at the outside world. They don't know that like a war started a second ago, or a
Right.
certain area of town
True.
just dealt with a lot of poverty or pollution. Like you look at like Chris Mars's work being inspired by the Hanford site.
Mm-hmm.
Unless the AI was told about the Hanford site, it won't create stuff inspired by that.
Right. Right.
And so I think that's really important when artists kind of think about AI is I think it's going to take over as many jobs as drum machines took from drummers. And
Mm-hmm.
that didn't really happen.
Right.
What happened was is we just have drum machines and drummers now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like text content, I don't know if you've messed around with Chat GPT.
A little bit, not much.
Yeah, so it's another thing I don't, there's a lot of hype about how amazing it is, but I've been messing around with it for a while now, and there's some stuff it doesn't do. I had it write a bunch of haikus, and they're pretty funny. I'm like, wow, that's clever. It can do that fast. But you ask it 100 haikus later, and you start to see a pattern.
Oh,
You're
interesting.
like, oh, okay, so there is a pattern here. But when it comes to email content, you can definitely, and I did this 2 days ago, give me 10 subject lines based on a sale that I'm having this month. And it spits out 10 subject lines. And now what you do is you look at the ones that fit you.
Right.
And then you can even like mix and match,
Yeah. Yeah.
pull
Yeah.
out the right one. You're like, cool, this is me. It's kind of, in a way, it's kind of like cooking with some pre-made food.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I can make enchiladas from scratch, or I can buy the sauce and I'll
Right.
buy the cheese grated already. So it's kind of like that. And I think that's where the power is, you work a ton, a lot of artists work a lot, and having to like sit down and now do something that's not as exciting as painting is,
Right.
not as rewarding as painting is. So I think in that case, like that's where the AI could be a really great assistant to
Yeah.
where it can do that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so I would definitely encourage artists to use that because
Yeah.
I think it's going to get to the point where everyone's using it soon anyway. And I hate to be like that whole it's here, you jump on the
Deal with
train, man.
it.
But like once you really start digging in and seeing like what it can do, the power of it. Like I'm working on a project right now in the background. I don't want to share too much about it because me, I kind of have a bunch of harebrained ideas I bring up all the time that never come to light. But I needed something or someone to chat with about it.
Mm-hmm.
And this was that. So
Oh
I could
wow.
go back and forth and go, okay, what is, like, I even asked Chat GPT, what is dark art? I was
Oh,
just curious,
interesting.
like, what would it say? And it fired off basically what you and I and you and others have talked about. It brought up Beksinski.
Really?
And so immediately I thought, like, I think I have it, like,
That's
still dark art.
really
Like, what is,
cool.
yeah, so what is dark art? The term dark art can refer to a variety of styles, and it goes into gothic, macabre, horror art, looking at the inner emotions that human experience doesn't want to see. And I'm like,
Whoa.
so if this language model knows that, then that phrase is already out there.
Right.
That's what it's reflecting.
Right.
So I was able to go back and forth and I asked, oh, is dark art important? And it went off on like 5 points about how it offers a different perspective, sparks conversation, provides catharsis, celebrates diversity. And I'm reading this, and you get to just keep going back and forth. And not everything it says is a winner,
Right.
but it helped me so that one, I'm not like, at my desk talking to myself. I'm kind of talking to something else. But it kind of really helped me work through what I was thinking
That is
and kind
so
of put it into
interesting.
words a
Yeah.
little bit,
Yeah. Because sometimes that's
and
all it takes is like,
yep.
it's like when you talk to a friend about something, like how you're feeling about something, or you're feeling it some way, and you're not really sure. And then you talk to somebody, and then by the end of the conversation, you realize, oh, that's why I'm feeling that way. And it's like, I
Yeah.
just needed to verbalize it in order to understand it.
Yeah. And I could see like some concern about that. Like I do have some friends that are like, man, we're all going to be chatting to AI bots soon and no other humans.
Right.
Maybe some people will, but I think the benefit with this is, you know, like you said, being able to kind of just get stuff out,
Yeah.
and to do so without any sort of feelings of insecurity. Like, I don't know if I want to talk about this, or
Right.
there's things that I want to talk about, but I don't know if I'm skilled enough in the
Mm-hmm.
thing to talk about it. So like even in previous jobs, I've been around folks that are just brilliant in what they do. And I don't want to be like walking up like asking basic level questions that they're just like, all right, kid, get out of here. Where's your
Right.
where's your mom? So I can kind of jump into this and ask that question, and it kind of feels safe because,
Right.
well, it's just like browsing the web.
Yeah.
It's just bringing it to me so I can look and learn and ask questions and go back and forth and then come up with a new idea. So, I think if folks really get past a lot of the, what did a YouTuber call it? Replacement panic,
Mm-hmm.
where this thing's coming in to take away stuff from us. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think creatives as a whole, I think, are just too good at what they do to let a machine take over.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like as a traditional oil painter and sculptor of physical items, I feel especially insulated from, uh, being put out to pasture because as things become more digital, uh, over time in the future, I think that handmade physical items will become more precious. So, I mean, it's
Mm.
it's kind of like in one way, a lot of the illustrators, digital illustrators I see complaining about it. I sort of want to say, and I was thinking of doing a podcast episode, just like a solo one, just talking about this. It's like, maybe it's a good time to start thinking about going back to your passion and creating work for yourself, and trying to use, make a career out of that, if you're going to be losing potential work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's definitely a good thing to try. And I also think that, you know, a lot of the conversations that I've seen where, oh, AI is going to take away fans. I'd even questioned like, were those fans?
Yeah,
If they could
exactly.
jump ship that fast and be
Right.
like, oh, I don't like Chet's work anymore. I don't like,
Yeah.
Eric's work anymore. It kind of reminds me of like, I've heard conversations with businesses before where like, if you own a restaurant in town and a pizza shop is opening down the street and you're like, oh, this is going to take my customers. Is it? Or maybe those people never even came into your business.
All right.
And maybe you're seeing them in the pizza line because they've been waiting for pizza
All right.
and you didn't sell that.
Right.
So they're not really taking away customers because there's a possibility that those you're seeing in line were never yours to begin with.
Right.
So if you see a bunch of folks buying AI, they're the folks that maybe they never would have bought yours.
Right.
Or maybe they would buy both. And sometimes the conversations I see happening, I think you and I even chatted about how toxic it was getting, where I've even seen folks and collectors I know that were like, I don't even know if I want to talk about this right now. Like, I like both, and I kind of feel
Right.
bad voicing it,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I really think, and I bring up the drum machine example a lot because, there was a huge replacement panic about that. There was a famous bass player that thought he was going to get replaced by bass machines. And drum machines are everywhere now, and drummers are more popular than ever. Everybody knows Dave Grohl and all these
Right.
drummers. I don't think it's one or the other. I think our appetite for art, creativity, and music is big enough that we can like all of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Like we were talking about earlier, it's like people get really hung up on the moral issue of, hey, they took my artwork to train the AI without my permission. And that's valid. It's a valid thing to be upset about. But to me, if you take that out of the equation, I don't really have an issue with it, because it's like any other technology. And the thing is, a lot of the artists that are complaining are digital artists that put the oil painters and acrylic painters out of business back in the day. And they are also people that are using photo reference from the internet, just grabbing photos for reference for their digital paintings. So it's like, and it's like, I don't want to say that though, because on one hand, I feel kind of bad, I feel I sympathize with them, but this is really like a capitalism problem more than anything. It seems like this is more about people shouldn't have to be, I don't know. It's more, people shouldn't have to fear losing their job every time a new technology comes out. It's like this whole system is so fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. Like, I've thought about that a lot recently. Is like a lot of these conversations we have are exactly what you're saying. Like, we're so uneasy not insecure, but unsecure in our safety in life, that
Right.
whenever something can threaten it, you're like, well, this could radically change my life right now in a bad way,
Yeah.
and I'm already not doing the best.
Right.
There's a ton of people in the US right now that are living check to check.
Yep.
And it's like that phrase that I think of, is you're always one bad day away from being homeless. You're never one good day away from being a billionaire.
Right.
It doesn't happen. And so I can understand the threat, but I think the two can coexist. I think, like you said, it's definitely a capitalism thing. And I disagree as well. I think there were other ways to have trained the artworks.
Yeah.
But I think we chatted about that. Like the tech world tends to look at the, ask for forgiveness, not for
All
permission. And it's
right.
not right. But,
Yeah.
we all know many companies. I mean, every one of us has heard about horrible things Amazon does. And it's not to like give them a pass. It's just that's what they do.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why they do that stuff is because we voice our discomfort about it, we voice our concerns, but then we keep giving them money,
Yeah. Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And AI, the way I think about this is like I sympathize with both sides. I think there are valid points. And it was kind of tricky during the height of it to be in the middle and be like, hey, everybody,
Yeah.
there's good points because, you know, AI to me, like these models, I've been thinking about artists that are disabled.
Yep.
Like imagine painting for years, something happens to your hands, you
Yep.
can't paint anymore. Now someone can train a model on all of your own personal art, and now you have your own personal AI to keep making
Yeah.
your own art.
Yeah. That's amazing. You
Yeah,
know?
that's outstanding. But at the same time, I do agree that it could have been done different ways, but hopefully if we push it in the right way, we'll get companies. Like I think you posted that glaze a couple of days
Mm-hmm.
ago.
Yeah.
Stuff like that
Yeah.
will crop up because folks are showing concern,
Right.
and they're not trying to ban it. Like boycotts and bans, I'm not usually a fan of those because I think what they tend to do instead is bring more attention to the thing,
Right.
where AI is fun, it's exciting, and so I think a lot of folks were saying, hey, stop doing this fun thing. You know what I mean? It's exciting, it's fun, it's
Yeah.
instantly gratifying, and you've been trained that way from social media. Quit doing that.
Right. Right.
And I think the reality, like, or what might have helped a little better was, hey, do cool stuff like that, be aware of what it's doing, but also, hey, look at these artists that are making the cool stuff that you appreciate every day,
Right.
and let's also still support them.
Yeah.
Because all of us, we can do both.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just hyper polarized like everything is nowadays. It's I hate to see the fighting and the lack of civil discourse with all this stuff. It's like you see people just saying horrible things to other people because they are this issue has become like a political thing almost, and it shouldn't be. It's not politics, it's not. It's weird. It's like, yeah, it's like one side sees it completely one way and the other side sees it completely the other way, and there's no like, okay, I can see your point on that, but this, you know what I mean? And that's sort of
Yeah.
where I find myself, is like kind of in the middle, and I hate to be the middle guy, but for this issue it seems like, I just honestly feel like I could see the concerns and I could see the benefits. I guess I lean more towards it's like I don't even want to say it because I don't want people to get pissed at me, but it's like overall I guess you could say I lean at this point more pro AI because a lot of reasons, like everything we've been talking about. There's a lot of reasons. But I can still have all the same concerns that I did before.
Yeah.
And I
I
don't
mean, I'm at
use
the
it
point
myself
now
really,
where,
so
yeah, I'm at the point now too where I like, I have friends that are like, oh, AI is going to take your job. Please do. I want a break. You know what I mean? Like, well, go ahead, give me a break for a while because if enough of us are out of jobs, hopefully, like
Right.
we can't that can't sustain. Like we'd have to start talking about universal
Yeah.
basic income at that point.
Yeah.
And there are things I would rather do,
Right.
and there are things that I don't want to do. Like I like emails. I enjoy writing an email, but if someone came and said, "Hey, Josh, this chat app will write it for you and it will do it better than you
Yeah.
probably." And what if it can almost kind of guarantee some sales,
Right.
which it can't, but like if someone could do that and say, "Hey, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're frustrated, all these emotions they're hitting you because whatever's going on in the world. Well, this will do it for you and it might do it better. What do you think?" I'm gonna go, cool.
Right. Yeah.
Give me a shot. Like I'm tapping out right now. I need a break. You go ahead and do this for a while. I'm kind of at the point too where like, I'm already seeing setups. Like, I don't know if you mess around with Figma at all.
Mm-mm.
So Figma is kind of like an online kind of Photoshop. Adobe bought Figma recently, but it's kind of like imagine having Adobe Illustrator in your browser and you can kind of put stuff together.
Hmm.
There's AI tools in that where like you could immediately build an email just by drag and drop,
Hmm.
fill it with what you want, click a button, and it shoots it over to whatever email program you're making and does all the copy for it, does all the text, the subject line, the body, stuff like that. So you just change little things. You just saved yourself like 3 hours.
Right.
You now get to enjoy more time with your family.
Yeah.
You don't get to miss out on other spots of life. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and take advantage of that,
Yeah.
Like, I guess I don't understand, as long as it's not hurting somebody, as long as it's not taking advantage of someone's hard work, if it's something there that can make your life easier, go for it.
Yeah.
Because at that point, me sitting down and like building everything from scratch, especially if I don't love it, if I
Right.
love it, build it from scratch,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like, there are still people out there blowing like glass light bulbs.
Right.
Like, they're clearly doing it because they love it.
Yeah.
People are still buying it, but I'm not going to go out of my way like that. So I definitely think that's where it has that place, is to help out with that. Because I know, like, you're constantly painting and working and stuff like that. If something came in and magically in your house and said, "Hey, I know how you frame stuff, Chet. I'll frame it all for you."
Right. Yeah.
Like, you'd be like, "No,
Yeah.
no, virtual assistant that will do a perfect job. I'm not gonna."
Well, that's the thing. It seems like, ironically, the people that it would help the most are people like me, like independent artists who do it all themselves.
Yep.
That's if I'm the, kind of person that's like, I don't want to write the email. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm shipping stuff. I'm doing all this stuff that's not related to painting because I have to, because that's the only way I can make money. So, you know, the idea that sitting down to write an email, I mean, that's like a painful thing for an email list. That's like a painful thing for me. That's why another reason I stopped doing it. It's like, it's hard because I have to get out of this, especially in the midst of creating artwork. It's a totally different, it's like the other part of your brain. And to switch over back and forth between those two states is like
Oh
really,
yeah.
really difficult. It's like I plan my day out to where the first half is all business stuff. Like I do shipping or print labels, whatever, this kind of stuff, and then the second part is the art stuff, because you can't go back. I can't go back and forth. So the idea that I can have this um, uh, assistant do all of these things that I don't want to do, or I don't have time to do, because it's like I'm forced to do them myself in the first place. It's like I'm already being forced to do it this way because society does not really value what we do in that way. So it's like, if you're going to do it, okay, you can do it in America, but you're going to have to bust your ass 24/7 and no one's going to help you.
Yeah, that's been a big concern of mine too. Like, and I think it's happening as I get older as well, where I'm like, I don't want to get to the point where it's finally time to retire, if I even get to.
Right,
And at
right.
that point, I'm like so worn out. Now I'm just sitting on the porch 24/7 because I can't do anything because I'm just exhausted, And
Yep.
so anything that can kind of make things easier, because I don't really see a lot of things coming along, I guess, in the grander scheme, like with our companies and our politicians, of any indication for them to help us have things easier.
Yeah, no.
It's
No.
this hustle mentality, and I dislike hearing that when people talk about that. Like, if you ever, I don't know if you look at LinkedIn. I wouldn't, but like, I look on LinkedIn, and there's this mentality of like, dudes getting their hair cut while they're on a meeting
Yeah, the
and they're bragging
grind
about it. I'm
set and
like,
all that. Yeah.
yeah, as long as that braggable, like, you can't have a minute for yourself,
Yeah.
and so at that point, I'm like, well, then let's let the AI come in and help,
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of the thing about AI is the conversation is definitely dominated by image generation AI,
Right.
image diffusion and stuff like that. Like, I think that's just such a small part.
Yeah, that's a small part. I saw someone making video games, like little simple video games, that someone that never coded, and
Yep.
it's like, I also saw someone get taken down on Twitter today. Someone that was, this is the dark side of it. They were making images with Midjourney and then making them look like pencil drawings and then photoshopping them into a sketchbook and then laying their pencils up next to it like they just sketched this thing. And then they have pictures of them painting at an easel on a Midjourney rendered image they made. And they totally got called out by this guy, and like he did the overlay thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they deleted their account instantly. It was just a complete scam, and this is the kind of thing that just rubs artists the wrong way and really gives it a bad name. It's the worst case scenario.
It does. But those are the chuckleheads that I think like those are the chuckleheads that I think like they're always gonna find a way
Yeah,
to
true.
scam, right?
Yeah,
It's
they're
like and if you
scammers.
like really quantify like how much work they're
I
doing, you're
know.
like, you're spending so much time, just do the actual thing,
Exactly. It's so much more
you
fun and
know? So
rewarding.
if it's not AI, they're figuring out other
That's
ways to kind
true.
of game this stuff, you know? So the benefit with them is that they tend to have short attention spans and that stuff because they're not getting enough applause
Right.
or they're not getting enough money.
Right.
So once they do a thing for a while and they're like, okay, this isn't getting me the level of whatever I want, whatever their success is, fans or money, they'll move on to the next one that will,
Right.
you know? And so once this kind of AI thing dies down, I think that's when you're going to see more and more folks looking into what it can do. We'll see another big wave of what AI can do, and more folks will come on board. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to kind of go through this, you know, in many waves. You know,
Yeah.
I just had it while you were chatting. I just had it write an announcement email for you for your new email newsletter.
No way.
Yeah, so it just said, so we're thrilled to announce renowned artist Chet Zar, and it goes off into your new email program and all the stuff that they'll see for the journey ahead.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it's like 3 paragraphs. It did that in seconds, and now you get to go in and
And
make it
tweak it.
yours,
Yeah.
change some words. I don't like that line. Let's get rid of that one. Let's do
Right.
this. And then you're done.
That's great.
Because I really can't imagine a fan looking at it and go, you know, I have a feeling this is Chat GPT. I'm
Right.
gonna unsubscribe.
Well, it's like,
I'm not gonna like his art
yeah,
anymore.
right. Well, the thing is, if I see it and I rearrange things and I say this represents me, then it represents
Cheers.
me and it's fine. You know, it's
Yep.
like, uh, I wanted to bring up. I saw this guy on YouTube when this stuff was all starting. This first big wave where everyone was using it for everything, and this dude made a comic book. The whole thing was, I'm gonna make a comic book in a day. I've talked about this on the show before, and so he made this comic book in one day by using Midjourney for images and uh, I don't know if it was Chat GPT or it might have been a different program for writing the text, and um, and it was like, it was cool. It was a cool. I mean, for a day, it was amazing. But seeing how he did it was so exciting because he was curating all of the text, and he was changing things and rearranging, and he really was kind of making it his own. You
Yeah.
know, there was enough interaction from him that he was like turning it into something that it was an artist using these tools to create this new thing, and it got me super excited about it. Actually,
Yeah. I mean, there's that. There's also another artist on Instagram. I don't know if she's cool with me sharing her name, but she has two accounts, and one is her paintings. And she's been doing that for a long time, since when DeviantArt was like the cool thing. And then another one for just the AI stuff.
okay.
And you can see the AI bending heavily towards what she's always made. So really pushing it. And then she takes that, she allows the AI to do random weird little stuff, and then she builds up on it more. So it's
Right,
kind of
right.
almost like she's kind of using it. Like, what's that thing? A lot of art classes, that exquisite corpse kind of
Yeah,
thing, where
yeah,
you
right.
start a drawing and then
Yep.
she's doing that by herself,
That's cool.
and she doesn't have to rely on anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like where I grew up, I was lucky to be surrounded by a bunch of creative friends, that did a bunch of stuff. So I learned about electronic music that way, and we challenged each other to do this and draw, and a lot of graffiti, street art, stuff like that. But what if you don't live in that situation?
Right.
What if you live in the middle of nowhere and now you're doing this and someone's like, "Oh, you're taking away jobs." Taking away jobs, dude, we don't have a grocery store in my town.
Right.
Like, I'm not taking away anything. Like, I think about all the imaginations that are out there that don't have that ability, because they're in a desert of some sorts,
Right, right.
and they get to use these tools, and maybe the thing they make isn't perfect, but maybe 10 years later they get to do it better and make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, what I'm getting excited about is like what it will do for movies.
Oh yeah.
And mainly just not necessarily the special effects, because I still absolutely love practical effects,
Mm-hmm.
but there are things that we can't do in movies. Like, I think when it comes to like environments,
Yeah.
generating stuff like that,
Yeah.
space, or even video games,
Yep.
like, having it to where you're playing, like, let's do a horror movie game where it's literally changing every single time and every person is experiencing something different.
Right, right.
So that way you can't ask a buddy, "Hey, how'd you get through level 3?"
Yeah.
They're like, "I don't know. It was totally different than yours."
Right.
And that kind of stuff is exciting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting stuff. I mean, it's like I know I'm going to eventually be using it for something. I to me as a painter, it's like if I need a reference for a sky or something, I can go out, I can take a picture, or I can go online and steal something the way most people do and just like kind of rearrange it in Photoshop. It seems like such a great tool to be like, type out, prompt a certain sky that you're looking for, and then render that, and then use that for your reference, or anything like a can or some object that you don't have access to other than pictures on the internet that someone else posted in
Yeah.
a certain lighting condition to match your painting or something. It's like, I just, I, I just see that, I don't know. It's worse. I'm still kind of in that NFT space. I'm on Twitter watching it because for a while there, it was like pretty cool. And I was making pretty good money it was crazy. I mean, I didn't get in on the big wave where people were making like crazy money. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got into where I was like, it was nice. It was helpful. And of course, what you see, because now it's the NFT space is overrun with like low effort crap and criminals, like worse than it was before. And so you see a lot of people just like, oh, I'm an AI artist now, and I'm making an NFT, and I'm just busting these things out, and it's just like, But that's a whole other issue. Anyway, it looks bad on AI artists that are doing actually really cool stuff. Like there was an artist I had on the show when AI was just kind of starting out, and she was doing really cool stuff, and it was very mixed with Photoshop, and she was doing a lot of processing and chopping things up and layering them. I've seen a lot of artists do really amazing stuff using AI, but also putting in a ton of work to like collage things together properly and get a completely new thing, but using these elements they rendered out. It's really interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't understand, right? Like, I did have a conversation with one artist, and using AI, chopping it into pieces, taking parts out, somehow wasn't the same as tearing open a magazine and cutting pieces out and making a new collage. And I was like, that's still someone's, like, that magazine was still someone's IP. If I rip out Brad Pitt and put him in a piece, that's still Brad Pitt.
Right.
I didn't change it.
Yep.
And so it's not necessarily to like say that like how, AI being trained on artists' work was okay, but
Right.
there are still areas where we kind of blur these lines all the time
Yeah.
when things are okay and when they're not,
Yeah.
like to go back to like, selling work, like, oh, it's okay to sell some cheap stuff, but now you can't again. You have to do this. And I'm like,
Right.
you know, I think it's great that art exists in all these spaces in the world and how it exists for us, but it doesn't mean the way you work has to be that damn confusing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just if it inspires you and makes cool stuff, just do it, because I think at the end of the day, I think it's most folks aren't really going to look at it and judge it like the people who are technically savvy about it will. Like when I watch a horror movie, my wife is enjoying the movie, she's enjoying the scares, the acting. I'm enjoying that stuff, but I'm also looking, okay, where's the latex been painted in? Where's this? Oh, look at that. I saw a mistake here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm going to dissect it like that,
Yeah.
and
I'm
I
the
think
same
that's
way.
where a lot of the AI conversations are coming from, where most folks are like, it's I just like the way it looks. It's cool. And
Right.
they could, I think a lot of folks, I worked in a museum for a while, and there were a good amount of patrons that came in that didn't even know the difference between acrylic and watercolor.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then when you're like, oh, well, this one's paint, pigment, and water, and this one's pigment and water, and they're like, what? It's the same. And I was like, no, it's different. And at that point, they're like, I just want to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just leave it alone.
Right.
There's one artist, I don't know if you've seen him, but his name is Dougie Pledger.
Oh yeah. 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 Definitely.
Some of the AI stuff he
He's like
does
the
is
king.
amazing.
He's the king. Yeah. A, a friend of mine who's a really great artist. He's been like broken by this whole thing. He's like really bummed about it because he's seeing stuff that like Dougie's that he's been kind of doing, trying to do in physical pieces, and he's just seeing Dougie just bust these things one after another, and it's just he's having issues with it as an artist. Like, is this even, why should I bother, kind of thing. But I don't agree with him. I don't agree with him on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see how challenging it is, and I think that is why I think it's great to talk about it. Is it is a new thing. I think we are hitting like a new revolution, right? Where like industrial revolution, and now it's this new technological one, this
Mm-hmm.
AI revolution. So stuff's definitely going to change.
Yeah.
My hope, and I'm trying to be optimistic about it, is that it's going to change for the better. I'm also kind of, look, I'm looking at one of Dougie's works right now, like a little Sunday with a little monster in it. And I would totally buy that as a sculpture. So if Dougie makes it, cool. If another artist makes a sculpture from hand that took 5 times longer, I'm the type of collector, I'm still going to buy that too.
Right.
So I think, and yeah, collectors, they're not all the same where I'm going to buy art constantly and fill my house, but they are there.
Right.
And I think there are some, and I think some fans can turn into those. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you've seen it online. There are fans that their den has every Star Wars figure ever,
Yeah.
or video game collectors that have every game system ever. I think as technology goes, and, in a way, electronics get more and more boring and stuff gets more boring. Cars, I don't think cars look as exciting as they did back in the
Oh
80s,
yeah.
70s, and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
I think folks will start kind of attaching to this stuff. And, I do think there are folks like, I'll like Dougie's work, and at the same time, I'll snag someone else's,
Right.
because I like the thing,
Yeah.
and
You're
I
not. You're
don't
not just
necessarily.
gonna go and, oh, I like AI art now, I'm just gonna get all that.
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
I'm literally like, I'm a glutton for art,
Yeah.
and that includes all of it. And
Right.
so when something new comes out, it's just more for me,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
not going to stop paying it. Like, you know, since the day I really started getting into art and talking about it, the artists that I appreciated when I first got into it, I still appreciate to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like replace them in my head. Like,
Right.
I've only got so many slots. I better remove a couple, so I still look at the same artist. I still appreciate the same stuff. And I think a lot of folks are like that.
Yeah.
But I think, and, you know, to not sound too crotchety, I think social media really messed us up
Oh yeah, for
in
sure.
thinking that, oh, well, my likes are going down. I'm losing stuff
Right.
without ever questioning what did you lose?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you've seen, profiles I've managed that got super high, and what did that really mean?
Yeah.
Like another friend in the social media space calls them vanity metrics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just a way to kind of, oh, look how many followers I have. Well, what does that mean?
Right.
Do you
Yeah.
have do you have 3,000 people that just hate you and they're following you to see you fail?
Right. Right.
Or do you have 4,000 bots and 2,000 people that liked you but totally forgot you're there?
Yeah. Right.
So I think it messed with us a little bit to where we judge what we do by that, when we all functioned quite well before social media came around, and you made stuff and you had shows, and
Yeah.
our previous artists had shows, and we still talk. Like, I still look at Giger Works, I still look at Basil Gogos, and they're not flooding my feeds with their stuff. Obviously they can't, but
Right.
I still look at that stuff because I love dark art,
Right.
and I'm going to consume all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's the great thing about this, is that as long as you still do the thing that the community likes, there'll still be a place for you.
Yeah. I agree. I have to mention this. Have you seen Tim Malloy? Do you know Tim Malloy?
Yeah, that sounds super, super familiar.
Molloy. He's been on the podcast. He was just starting this project when he came on the podcast, and now it's like incredible. It's on his Instagram. He's doing like scenes from this fake movie. It's a movie. It's a TV show that
Oh,
that took place in his comics, because he's a comic book artist, and so he's making them like using Midjourney. He's making scenes from the TV show that never existed, and it's really amazing. It's really amazing stuff, and it's just like, as its own thing. It's like, you can't deny this is incredible. I don't care if it's AI. You know, I don't.
and just looking at it too, it looks like his.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And that's kind of the thing, is I think AI was judged a little bit too harshly on all of, again, those chuckleheads that just, spooky scene by Beksinski, ha
Right.
ha ha, and then flooded online with it. When you're like, we know what it is. And
Yeah,
I did the same thing.
yeah.
I tried to test it with Beksinski works, and I did. I did a series of works where I was trying to see how close it was, and I did a portrait of Krishnamurti by you, David Stupakis, Eager, all these, and it never looked like any of your works.
That's that's what you should listen to the Meets Meyer episode if you haven't.
I
Because
listened to a majority of it,
oh,
yeah.
okay, because he was talking about how he kept trying to make it do all these things, and he could never get it to do it. He could never get it to duplicate some piece of artwork, a specific artist. He couldn't do it. Like, he said he spent a year trying to do all the things that people accuse it of doing, and he couldn't
Yeah.
get it to do it. You know?
Yeah, I even created a couple of really, or not created, I prompted a couple of cool works. And then once it was there, I was like, okay, cool. Well, I don't know, raise your left arm. And then the arm doesn't move, but the head turns, and there's a dog in the background
Right.
now. And I'm like, so I don't, I really think it is like a tool to be used in some capacity. Like, I was chatting with a coworker where they're like, well, it's going to take graphic design jobs. And I'm like, really? Like, can you imagine someone working for a company and just taking sketches? Okay, what do you want? Cool. Here's a wireframe. Here's a sketch. Here you go. And then someone at a computer, like, okay, and they're prompting stuff, and the guy's okay, do a sun in the background. Okay, sun in the background. No, not a little guy, not someone's son. And then you're like messing around. Hold
Well,
on, I'll get it right. I gotta
right,
change my seed.
right. But
You know.
I think what people are saying is that eventually it will be that.
Oh
Like, there will
yeah.
be an interface to where you can be like, you're
And
doing
the
using
folks that'll be able to
sliders
use it the
and
best are artists.
yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you'll
think
know
so.
exactly
Yeah,
what to ask. I
yeah,
mean, I have a challenge sometimes where I noticed that I was prompting the stuff to create art based on words that I knew just from art history. So I'm like, create like a whatever blah 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 Baroque pattern with this and this and this, and then it spits out something that looks nothing like it.
right,
And then I try other words and it works better. And that's because the stuff wasn't tagged with the words I was using.
right.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
it's I think it's gonna work for those folks that know how to speak to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me, that's an art form in itself because I feel educated about art somewhat. I definitely have a gigantic school loan about it. But when I jump in and try to get stuff, sometimes I get back garbage because
Wow.
I really
Yeah,
didn't ask it the right things,
yeah,
and it takes that tenacity and that urge to jump in. And, then I'm hit with, okay, I got a cool work. Now I'm going to remove it and go into Photoshop and do this and do that and do this. And there's that art again
right,
that
right.
not everybody can do.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, okay. To bring this back around to email marketing, because I've kept you on probably longer than I should have. Um, do you have any closing statements or general advice you can give for artists about regarding email marketing? Maybe just some kind of like, I don't know, anything, a call to arms for artists and their email marketing, because I think it's I'm definitely hyped to get going on mine, so I think it's important.
Yeah, I would say like, I think now is the perfect time to get into the email stuff. Be if nothing more than just to have more control over who you communicate with.
All right.
You're not relying on some big tech company, you're not relying on the whims of some CEO. If you have a solid email list on MailJet, you find you don't like MailJet because the CEO does something horrible, you take your list and you go to MailChimp.
Right.
As long as they're still opted in and they still gave you consent, you can move them. Companies migrate to new email platforms all the time. So you can do that. You can't do that with these other platforms. It doesn't have to be something you dedicate as much time as you do your social media stuff,
Mm,
where Instagram wants you to feed it daily.
yeah.
TikTok wants you to feed it daily. It needs you to be addicted to it, where
Right.
email is like, okay, I sent an email. Cool. Let's see how it does. We're
Right.
good. And it can really be just, a once a week kind of thing. I know artists that send one or two emails a week and that's it.
Mm,
Not week, a month.
mm,
They're doing just a little bit to get it out there, and the main thing is that, as long as you follow the laws, which that can get pretty deep, I will admit. I mean, I still every once in a while, get lightheaded just reading some of the legal documents.
mm.
As long as, whoever's going into your email list is giving you consent. So a quick way to do that is if you have Linktree at all, put
Mm-hmm.
Linktree in your social media platform, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, and one of the links inside Linktree can be your email sign up form.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And there
Damn.
you go. And then
Okay.
they can sign up for it from your Linktree. You put it everywhere. There it is. You collect those folks, send an email. I would say your email doesn't have to be the most beautiful thing in the world at all. Remember, your art is the main thing they're there for. You're not selling emails.
All right.
You're not putting emails on a gallery wall. So pick the most simplistic, simple, change the background to black if you want, put your
Yeah.
logo up there, do little stuff. Do not spend a lot of time thinking about it. If you ever get bored, you can go to a website called Really Good Emails
Hmm.
and search companies, and you'll see how simplistic. Like Nike's
Oh,
emails
cool.
are really simple.
That's handy. Really good
They're just
emails.
showing the shoes. They know why you're there,
Right.
right? And so folks are there for your content. So let the content speak. And that's your paintings and your art and your shows and your book or your pins or whatever you're doing. So be consistent, chat with the folks, look at the click-through rates, look at things like that. pay attention to the audiences. Um, and it's kind of one of those things where you can put one foot into the water and just, send an email and just do a little bit, or you can really dive into the metrics and the platform and start doing what they want, and then you can keep getting better and better. So the tech will grow with you depending on how in depth you want to get. So like that's what I do for a daily basis. I'm in there breaking up lists of millions of subscribers by what they look at and what they see and doing all this stuff. But you could have just as successful a program for you just by saying, hey, these 10 people clicked a thing. Let's send them an email saying thanks. And here's a free wallpaper for your iPhone.
Yeah.
Little stuff like that.
Yeah. That's so smart.
And use a reliable email service provider, MailChimp. What's another one? One's called ConvertKit. I think if you kind of look around, you might find a couple, but I would say MailJet or MailChimp. And then make sure, like America, we have the canned spam laws. So as long as you don't spam folks, don't hit them up too much, they'll unsubscribe anyway, and the email program won't allow you to send emails to them, or it shouldn't. But also, if you are a business, there is a chance you do have to put your address in the email.
Oh, interesting.
So at the bottom, if you have a PO box, that's cool. But you technically are a business, so to stay away from canned spam laws and stuff like that, put your address there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on LLC, so
there you go. See, that's probably another good thing for artists to learn as well is, I know it's hard to kind of sometimes look at yourself like a business, but you are. And that's where you get the tax write-offs, and that's where you get all the other benefits.
Definitely.
And so, to look at the email, like the email is not only then a way for you to communicate with your fans, it's a way for you to run your business.
Yeah.
Well, and really that's about it. I would say, like, if it is kind of tricky because, it's definitely something, and I've contemplated this as well. Like, this is a lot of stuff. I mean, I've even thought about, like, should I maybe I'll do a YouTube video, or maybe I talk you into that where I help you with your email program and we document it somehow.
Oh, that would be killer. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would love to do that. Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff does take a little bit of showing folks.
Right.
But for those people out there that are listening, if you just do email marketing for artists in Google, the first thing you will hit is one from a website called Art Marketing News. It's called The Definitive Guide to Email Marketing for Artists in 2023. That's a good read. Read that.
Cool.
It's huge, but at least it'll let you kind of dig in and see what's going on in that kind of area, because, the technology for email is pretty old. It's still running the same way it has for a long time, but it's just kind of one of those things that's just kind of pretty stable.
Yeah.
Where you can still do well, still connect with your fans. It's there for you during sales during the year, or if Instagram takes a crap or TikTok gets banned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of the thing, is I would really encourage folks, like, get that email link list in your link tree now. If you have more than 10,000 subscribers in Instagram, I think you can put links in your stories, so you can have them click on the link from the story.
Oh, for to sign up for the email?
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I used to do this a lot. Like, if you have more than 10,000 followers on Instagram, you can add a clickable link in an Instagram story.
Yes, you can. I just did that the other day.
Yep. I would link that to your email sign-up form and do a story that literally says, hey, email sign-up form, join me, call it whatever you want, email club, whatever. You're not going to get 1,000 people clicking it. You're going to get the quality. You're going to get the ones that are like, hell yeah, I want to be there.
Yeah,
and you might have to do it multiple times.
Yeah, great idea. Great idea.
And build that now, because, I think, like I said, like we're seeing with TikTok, I think, social media is going to change in some way, shape, or form. And email has just kind of been this stable thing that hasn't really changed a lot.
That's true. Yeah.
It's It's not the most exciting thing in the planet. I think it's cool, but I think it's at least something you should have in your tool belt.
Yeah, absolutely. Is the one last thing I wanted to ask you, is there an artist that is killing it with their email marketing that you know of, that like really
Ooh.
is doing great work, or is it one of those things that you haven't really seen that much?
um, I mean, there've been a couple, honestly, a lot of times it's a lot of the artists that tend to do more of the kind of colorful, poppy kind of stuff,
Mm,
landscapes, things like that. You'll see a lot, like who was it? What's that artist's name? Does a lot of like landscapes of San Francisco, and they're really impasto kind of um what's that artist's name? I'll remember right after this, I bet.
yeah,
But
probably.
um I would say who tends to be really good with the email game sometimes is galleries.
Hmm.
Galleries are pretty solid with it,
Hmm.
especially in San Francisco. There's a few that are really good. Um, but also, like for inspiration, I think this might fit with the dark art world as well. Look to t-shirt brands,
Hmm.
Fright Rags, Cavity Colors, Gutter Garbs, all those. Like I get their emails. They're fun.
Hmm.
They're filled
Okay.
with visuals. They let you know what's going on. They let you know when something new is happening. And, they're kind of, I think what's kind of cool about it is dark art. A lot of folks in the email world are trying really hard to get their stuff to stand out. Dark art already stands out.
Right.
So if you're getting a bunch of emails from Whole Foods and traditional medicinals tea and
That's
all
true.
this
Yeah,
stuff like
that's true.
that, yeah, you're looking at all these beautiful, clear, crisp little emails of someone drinking tea on the porch, and then you collect the next one, and it's a Chris Mars piece. It's
Right.
gonna stand out.
Yeah, true,
It's gonna
true.
catch your attention. So
That's
you
funny.
already have that edge,
Yeah.
where other folks don't.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say real quick is don't be afraid to try wacky stuff. I messed up one time and I sent an email out to like a few million people and I forgot to put a subject line. So it was blank. There was nothing there. And I was freaking out. I was like, oh crap, this is horrible because there's a lot of revenue tied to this. And it was one of the best performing emails
Wow.
because, and I wouldn't want to do that all the
Yeah,
time.
because they're like, what is this? This isn't normal. And
Yeah,
so they
but
clicked it to see what it was,
yeah,
probably.
try something, send an email out where the subject line is a bunch of poop emojis.
I,
You know what I
you know
mean?
what? It's funny that you say this now, because part of a big part of the reason why my email is so screwed up now is because back when Obama was going to get elected, I was, of course, like a lot of people, I was like excited. I was donating to Democrats and getting on all their fucking mailing lists
Oh,
it's like I want to kill them all now because they just won't stop emailing me. I'm trying to unsubscribe because I'm on like all these political email lists. And it's like, it doesn't matter if I agree with their politics or not. It's like, I don't want to have my email clogged up with them. Anyway, but I notice they're actually big on the email game. Their email game is pretty strong because now that you mention it, it's like they put things in the title of the email that a couple times I almost opened them because it seemed like it was either personally directed at me, like it was someone I knew, or it was just some weird wording that made me go, what? And notice it.
oh, yeah. If you ever get curious, I'm more than happy to chat about this. When it comes to like the enterprise level companies, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this in the past where like you say something to your wife and then you open Facebook and there's an ad for it,
Yeah, yeah.
and the email world on the enterprise level is like that to where like Facebook, for example. Facebook's a really good one. You cannot be signed up for Facebook at all, and they still have data on you. And the
Oh,
reason
really?
why they have data on you is because they put cookies in other people's web pages.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
so if you go to, like, let's just pick eBay. eBay has a Facebook cookie because they have a Facebook account. They advertise on Facebook, and that cookie is tracking you and everybody
Oh,
else,
shit.
even if they don't have an account.
Yeah.
And so they're sharing it. So being able to like if I wanted to with a client, I could get creepy enough where I'm like, hey, Chet, noticed you got yogurt last week. Here's a
Yeah.
coupon for one down the street. And you're
Wow.
like, what? Because
Yeah.
they also, another thing that AI is doing, which is kind of creepy, is predictive modeling, where it notices you do a certain amount of things and it will say there is a 98% chance Chet's going to get yogurt again this Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Wow. Yeah. That's freaky.
It's pretty wacky. I mean, like I am amazed by the technology to know that I'm that predictable when I thought I was kind of exciting, but
Yeah.
apparently not. um, but at least in our space, in just art, I think just having like a wholesome, even if Chat GPT helps you, having a wholesome, mellow, almost kind of down to earth email is what's going to help you the most.
Right.
Like even send an email out one day that says AI didn't help me write this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or put it
Yeah.
in the body. And I think for a lot of artists, that's something that can kind of help them as well, is be honest with stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you like to
Yeah.
not to go back to the AI too much, but if you're concerned about it, just update your profile that says hand painted by me.
Right.
That's it. Just little stuff, little signals. People will appreciate it. They'll be cool. It doesn't have to turn into a battle,
Right. Right.
but it's something you can do to just kind of stand out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think it's something that, yeah, I would say just I really, not to again sound too salesy, but I think there's only benefits by launching one. And do not let the social media fever we've all had to make you think that having an email list of 30 people is horrible, because that might be the 30 most engaged people you've ever met.
Oh yeah. You can I've said it many times. I out of the 121,000 people on my Instagram, I only got, I don't know, it was like, now it's like 320 people on my Patreon. And that's paying my mortgage, it's paying bills, and they're the most engaged people. They are also
Yep.
buying directly from me for things. They're asking for commissions. So it's not about, and this is something I really learned from that first episode with you, where it's not about quantity, it's about quality, especially in
Yeah.
art sales, especially in art. It's like small numbers of people that you can build a relationship with, and they want to support you, and you want to give them great art. It's like this really great mutually beneficial relationship, because as an artist, we know without collectors, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? It's like you
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
That's part. I've always said that's part of the process, is sharing the artwork. In the end, that's part of the artistic process. If you just paint things and never show anybody, it's like why bother?
Well, and your fault, like let's say you had a solid base of 300 on Patreon or 30 or whatever. I think too many artists look outside that and they're okay, where's the rest? Where's the rest? Where's the
Right.
rest? When the ones that you have next to you, ideally they're talking about you to people too.
Yeah. Right.
So
Right.
me back in the grocery store with the God Machine hoodie. God Machine's a UK artist. Who
Mm-hmm.
knows if this dude's heard of him? He's in
Right.
there buying chicken nuggets or whatever, and he just learned about an artist. I'm
Right.
more than happy. I probably got a little too weird on him, where I'm like, look, dude, this is how you spell it. You want to do this, it's .co.uk. Like, your fans are going to do a lot of that work for you too,
Yeah. Right.
because they love their community.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of folks are missing a community right now. Like, I miss the horror communities I was in a long time ago. I
Mm-hmm.
miss the way the internet kind of used to be in the beginning,
Right.
and so I think communities are even more important. And I think we kind of lost a little bit of that, where social media sold us a community, but it sold us this never ending build of a community that
Right.
we kept doing because it
Yeah.
was never good enough,
Yeah. Right.
and I think email's that way to get out of it. And I would say email is that way where, depending on how you do it, where you can build and nurture and foster that community and keep the conversation going.
Right.
So if the internet takes a shit and we all go back to 1990s internet, your email list is still there.
Yeah.
Right? Like MySpace can't even come back, nothing. You still have an email list and you can, hey everybody, everything's gone. This is shit. Here's a new painting.
Right.
So I definitely think it's worth giving a shot. And hopefully there's enough resources online, or if I help you out with yours, we'll document it somehow, because I will admit there is a lot to it, but I think folks can get started right away.
Yeah, maybe that might be, yeah, we should talk about doing that. It could be something to where, you help me out, we get it all set up, and then we have another episode to where we talk about it and you kind of explain everything you did, maybe, or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or we could do a video. I don't know. Yeah, we should talk about it. It's a great idea, though. Yeah, so thank you so much for coming on. As always, super insightful. Some of the most insightful podcasts we do are with you. So,
well, thank you for having me yet again.
Always, you got an open invitation. I was gonna say I hope people listen to this, but I have a feeling they will, since you have the most popular episode in the whole run of 378 shows or whatever it is.
Well, hopefully they don't look at it, see email in the title, and like, oh, ugh.
I know. I have to figure out how am I going to do this kind of clickbaity thing on YouTube to make people want to listen to this.
This ain't your grandpa's email.
I'll mention AI in the title somehow. That'll get people to listen. It's for their own good. Yeah, awesome, great talking to you. And as always, it's always just good to talk to you because you're a cool dude, and you've been one of the OG dark art supporters. I don't know if people realize it or not, but you were there from the very beginning, and done so much good for the community. So we all really appreciate you, and so thank you for sharing everything.
More than happy to. Like I said, it's selfishly, so I can just keep on seeing more awesome art, and and I think the world honestly needs it. I think agree. Especially with, I was thinking about this a while ago, not to keep it too long here, but just the way the world is right now, I think this is really, even more so than ever before, is dark art's time to really kind of show what it has. Man. Especially since Chat GPT wrote a manifesto for me, just by asking for it. It's like, here you go.
Right.
So when the AI is starting to look at dark stuff, I think it has a really important place. And so I'm more than happy to always. There's enough art history geeks like myself in the Renaissance and the Baroque and all that stuff like that. So whatever I can kind of do to help this scene, and even the scenes around it,
right,
just bring more stuff into the world, is definitely my end goal.
I'll add one little thing to that you mentioned. You just want more art. You just want more art. The funny thing is, like, every artist is like, oh, I want to give it to you so bad. It's like, we live to make art for you. It's like, this is what we love. It's our favorite thing to do, and we're just dying to figure out a way to be able to afford to do it. It's like, we, because we 99.9% of us are like, don't care about the money, and we're doing the business because we have to. We care about the artwork. That's the fun thing. And someone like me, I'm trying to make a decent living with it, because that's I think that would be the ultimate coolest thing, is to be able to do your favorite thing and then make a good living at it,
Yeah.
But it's just so funny that you're like, you're wanting it, you're wanting to see more and more, and we're wanting to give it to you, and it's like,
well, I think people need to wake up, because during the pandemic, we saw how important art was.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Folks were locked up, and what did they do? They didn't just stare out of a window like Forrest Gump, right? They listened to their music, they watched their movies, they read their comic books, they bought art.
Yeah.
So art is there whenever we need it, and when we need it the most.
Right.
Right. There are people who don't like art. I don't get it, but like it's important, and I'm hoping that folks start waking up to that again, that it's there for you 24/7. It's
Right.
not just there when we have a pandemic. It's not just there when you're at a concert. It's like there all the time,
Right.
and in order for that to happen, the artists need to have a place to live, eat food,
Right.
take care of their family. And I'm a big like I think I'd like to see money taken away from billionaires that don't need it.
Oh, I know.
Let's
Give it
start
all the
shifting that
artists.
over to the folks that actually like give us stuff, because
Right.
it's that's a weird one that I have a hard time dealing with, is watching people online defend
Oh, I
billionaires.
know. It's so
And
crazy.
there
It's
are
so
folks that
bad on
need it
Twitter.
more, where you're like, dude, this video game you're playing is because of artists,
Yep.
not that billionaire,
Yeah, right.
And so I'm hoping, who knows, something will change, or enough folks like me and you will be out there screaming about it in the streets, that more and more folks will start, seeing like, oh crap, it's the metalhead that helped me when I needed it most. It's the
Right.
not metalhead. It's, that's the community right there. The community, maybe it's got billionaires on it. I don't know. Hopefully they're cool ones, but it's really that community itself. And in order to be a thriving, healthy community, people need to be taken care of,
Right.
and if you have the ability to do it, then help out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Ireland just, I read a thing that Ireland, what was it? They took a small amount of artists, like 1,000 artists or 2,000 art. I don't know, small amount of artists, and they're paying them $350 a week
Oh, nice.
just to do it, so that they can do their art. I mean, it's like, how fucking cool is that?
Yeah.
It's so amazing. So hopefully that spreads, because something's gotta, the whole
I hope so.
universal basic income thing. It's like, it has to happen at some point. It's gonna have to happen. It seems like it's gonna. I can't see any other way, especially if everything becomes automated, or
Well, I mean, I'm for one, I'm gonna stop buying shit myself, right? Like, I mean, it's getting expensive enough where,
Yeah,
like,
right.
I enjoy eating a nice meal, but this stuff continues, and I'm like, man, I lived on ramen for 12 years as a kid. I could do it again,
Yeah.
and a lot of those companies are going to be hurting, so they're gonna have to step in. I think the days of like unregulated profit over people is going to have to stop, because we're just not going to be there to pick up the tab.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
We
True.
just can't do it. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. There's no.
Sorry, you can't get your third yacht.
Yeah. It can't support itself. Anyway, okay, we're going off to
Yeah,
tangents.
we're
Anyway,
going into rant mode.
well, thanks again for coming on, and don't hang up. And the last thing, you just have to say goodbye to the audience. So just say goodbye, audience.
All right, goodbye, audience. Thank you. Everybody, get an email program going on. It's cool. You have to do it. And any questions, hit the comments on this YouTube.
That's right.
I'll drop some links in there, and hopefully other folks that are into this can jump in there and help as well. Let's show how that community can help each other out.
Right on. Thanks so much, Josh.